The way that we are compensated is if they move into a private pay community, that community compensates us for our time in helping them to find them. But our services to the client and the senior is 100% free.
That's wonderful. Hi, I'm John. This is Marilee. I'm sitting here with Anita and Johnell. And Anita is the CEO of an organization called Neighborly Senior Placement. And Anita, I'm going to let you start by telling me a little bit about what it is and what they do.
Sure, thank you. So I started Neighborly Senior Placement about 3 years ago, and it came out of a need to help people find different senior living options. So to start, I started in senior living as a waitress in a dining room at the age of 15. So I've acquired a lot of a wealth of knowledge of senior livings and how they operate. And I wanted to utilize my knowledge and my expertise, my connections, to be able to help people locally. This is a very tough time for a lot of people, and it's an overwhelming time. So my goal is to take as much off their plate to make it an easier process to find them the right senior living community for them. It's grown a lot in the past 3 years. It started with just myself helping seniors, and because of the need, and there's quite a need, we've grown significantly to having multiple people on our team, both here in the Bay Area and in Southern California. And on my team is Johnell, and we have over about 70 years of experience combined on our team of working with seniors in senior living. So we're all really happy to be able to utilize our expertise to make this an easier process for people.
Wow.
Wow, it sounds like your plate's pretty full. And you had a question.
Well, I was just thinking, it is hard for a senior or for anyone sometimes, they're not versed on the computer. And so how are they going to find the best, information that they need for themselves?
Sure, and that's a good point. Majority of people now, we're in an age of the internet. If you need anything, I think 80% of people hop online to find what your options are. And seniors may or may not, but oftentimes their adult children are looking for them. And even looking online, there's just so much information. How do you distinguish between the different types of senior living communities? How do you pay for senior living? Is this one appropriate for my loved one? And so that came out of a need of being able to, wanting to educate people, which is why we're here. And we're really happy to be here to send this message out to a larger audience before there's an emergency situation where they need to react and really be proactive. So we want to help people. This is our expertise. We do this every day. We help hundreds of people navigate the options of finding a caregiver, moving into a senior living community, and all of the different things that happen along the way. This is our expertise, and so we want to educate people so that they can make the best decision for themselves.
Wow.
I've seen different reports, and I think on your website, where the increase in seniors is still going up because of the baby boom population is reaching that age. Do you feel overwhelmed? And in that respect, do you get any help from government agencies, or do you accept that, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's definitely an aging population, and I think we're all trying to prepare for it. There's a lot of senior living communities being built to accommodate those who are aging. I'm really happy about there's new incentive, or not incentives, there are new waiver programs that have come out in the past couple of years to be able to cover a gap of people who are not really financially supported in order to pay for senior living. So we're finding more resources allocated to the aging population, which I'm really excited about.
That sounds great. Yeah, because obviously we're getting close to an age where we have to think about those situations. So in that respect, when you look at homes, when you go to homes, and you, both of you can answer this if you like, and you see the homes, they are regulated by the state? Is that what it is?
Yes, they are. There's several different types of senior living communities, and there's an independent living community, which is an unlicensed senior apartment for the most part. Usually people go there, they're 55 plus, they may have some amenities, and they are paying for their rent and a couple of amenities, but they require no assistance. There's no care provided in that setting. Assisted living, which is the majority of where seniors go, especially now people are waiting a lot longer to move into senior living, especially after the pandemic. A lot of people didn't move in, and then now they're moving in at a later period in their life. And so they're moving in with these needs for care. And so for care, it's called an RCFE that's licensed by the state of California. You may have heard of assisted living, a memory care environment, or maybe you've heard of a care home or a boarding care. Those are all licensed by the state of California, and they all have regulations. You have to be licensed and abide by these regulations. That's a license that I hold, and many people on my team also hold that same license, and that is helpful for us to know the different regulations and how to further advocate for our clients, know what's appropriate, where we might be able to problem solve with them. But they are regulated. They have the basic amenities and services like having caregivers on staff 24 hours a day, having 3 meals a day and snacks, housekeeping, laundry, an activity program. So all of those basic services are things that are regulated by the state of California.
And so when you deal with placing someone, there's two groups I assume that you have to deal with: the actual person you're placing and the family.
Yes.
How does that work? I mean,
Sure.
that dynamic between the two.
Yeah. Most of our clients we're working with are the adult children. Maybe 20% of the clients that are looking for themselves, and it's great that they are, but a lot of people are putting off moving into a senior living community because of the pandemic, because of a lot of different reasons, and so they're waiting until they absolutely need help. And at that time, the family is usually involved because they have identified that there is a need and they need support for their family member. So often the people who introduce us to these families are healthcare professionals, doctors, case managers, social workers. They might be introduced by a financial planner. Financial planners are often one of the first people to see that maybe someone's having a decline in their memory because they're having trouble managing their finances. But usually from a professional is how they're introduced to us. At that point, a majority of our clients have a need. Not to say that we don't have people who don't, we certainly do, and those people are the planners that want to go for the social environment, and they're tired of keeping up their 4-bedroom house and
being
cleaning.
alone. And
Exactly, and we certainly have a lot of those clients. But in terms of the majority of our clients that are waiting, by the time they are moving or working with us, we're working with their adult children. So our clients are not only the senior moving into the senior living community, but their adult children, because that's a really, really hard transition to go from being a child, and your parent, being over you and guiding you, to now you're having to make decisions for your parents, sometimes necessary things that maybe they may not agree with. There's a lot of guilt. There's a big part of our role is not only do we help find a place, but we're counseling people through this decision-making process. This is hard. This is hard.
Yeah, I would imagine a senior would take you aside and go, "Hey, don't listen to my son. This is." I mean, is that what do you do?
How do you get the senior and their child on the same page? Because what's important to the adult child is not the same thing as a senior. And part of our conversation, I always ask, can you tell me what is important to you as an adult child? And then tell me what you think would be important to your mom or dad. Because I guarantee they're going to be different. It might be for the adult child. They often say, I just want a clean, safe place for my loved one. But mom or dad says, I want a pool. So I want to find something that fits everybody.
But there are people who have money, right? And then there's going to be people who do not.
Yeah.
And, how do you care
Absolutely. That's a great question.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit about what Anita touched on, and what one of your questions was about how do people, is there government funding? You know, there's different waiver programs, and you know, we have to figure out what their true budget is, what they're working with, what their income is, and then depending on what they qualify for, what we can try to help them, you know, figure out, then we can make recommendations. So we usually just start with a basic conversation of what's your income, what are we, you know, looking for, and then also to your point about the waiver programs, and you can touch a little bit more on that. It's basically, you know, a way for us, it's a Medi-Cal waiver. So if they have lower income, we can address that. If we cannot support them because they don't have enough private pay, we can at least get them the resources that they need and show them, you know, the right direction to go in if we're unable to do a proper placement based on their budget.
So that's can be constraining though for choices, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And we
That's
want to
tough.
do our best to educate people what their options are so that they can make an informed decision. There's usually a couple different options or different ways that people can go about doing things. And so we want to do that thorough conversation and learn as much about them as we possibly can, about their finances, about what care they may or may not need, or maybe their health conditions that may affect them now, or maybe it's going to affect them down the line, and be proactive about that. And then any social factors as well. And so we want to find a community that's going to be a good fit for them both now and down the line. And a part of that is financial planning. Now, we're not financial planners, but we want to be able to find something that is not going to exhaust a person's funds. And sometimes it happens where people do run out of money, they outlive their finances. And so we want to be proactive in educating them on, once we get close to this is plan B, and this is what we need to start working on, so that people aren't left in the dark. They have their backup plan. We want people to be well supported and prepared for the decisions that they're going to have to make.
Is there like an elderly boilerplate for their rights that is somewhere listed, you know, where they cannot just be arbitrarily saying, you're out of money, good luck?
Yes. So there's different rights depending on the type of maybe community that you're in. If someone moves in an assisted living community that's licensed by the state of California, there are rights. Rights of how they operate and what happens if you run out of money. Some, not many, do a financial application to make sure that you can pay for a certain number of years before accepting you in, although that's not the norm. Really a small percentage of do that. But these contracts are month to month. And so once this starts to become a financial issue, or maybe they're exhausting their funds, connecting with somebody to kind of set up a plan B.
It must keep you hopping.
Do you charge a fee for this, or do you do
Fantastic question.
just for giving? Or
Yeah, I think one of the best parts about what we do is we can do it at no fee to the families, and so we can give all the resources, knowledge, and time that we can to them, and they don't have to pay us a fee. We get to work with whatever community they decide to choose, and that community pays us a referral fee as.
Oh, that's great.
So.
And that covers, do you get grants, or, I mean?
We don't. There's pretty hard lines between the private pay senior living and then once insurance is a part of the equation. And so right now it's only private pay. So there are no grants that I certainly know of, or my colleagues. If there is, please let me know. But I don't think there is at the moment. But things are changing, and we're always looking to improve the lives of seniors. And I do wish that more people had this guidance and that there was support. But even with the Medi-Cal programs that they're really building out, they're doing a good job of providing a similar support system to us. When someone qualifies for their Medi-Cal programs, to pay for them to have a waiver in assisted living, they have some type of care coordination in there that has a similar function to us. So they are adding supports, which I'm really happy about.
So you can work hand in hand with that, and that's great.
Well,
To some capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are hard lines, but it's a lot of providing and getting people on the right track, and then handing them over to the appropriate professional for the waiver programs, as they have their own system in place to help those people who qualify.
So the Neighborly Senior Placement Program, it sounds like a great first stop before, to come to you and at least get an overview of what is affordable, what is accessible, what is out there.
Absolutely.
And also other programs outside your venue, like government programs, you can turn people in that direction to.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to tell people, think of us as your neighbor who knows everything and everybody about senior living, for the most part.
What a valuable neighbor.
Yeah, and so I think absolutely having a conversation when you're not sure what to do. Do I do a caregiver in my home? Do I look at a community? There's a lot of things that people in this season of life are dealing with that we deal with on a daily basis. And even if we can't help you to find a senior living community, our goal is to really help people to get the resources that they need and to direct them. For each person that we worked with, it's like putting a puzzle together, because everybody's uniquely different health needs, different financial situation, different social profile, and so we want to put all of those things together. Sometimes people need to put in place a power of attorney, or they need to sell their home, or they might need their home modified. There's a million things that seniors need support with that we have connections with, and we want to put this plan together to make those introductions to help people. And so absolutely, I think the first call that people should make is to a senior living professional like us to really start being proactive about these things. These things take time. And so the sooner you get involved and start doing these things, the better set up you'd be.
That makes
Do
sense.
you mostly work in this area, or you're following the laws of Marin County, or
Yeah. So we have 8 people on our team in the Bay Area. So we serve the entire Bay Area. I am on the peninsula. Johnell is in Marin, and then we have other team members around the Bay Area. And the thought behind that is we know our local market. We know the communities in that market. We know the differentiators, the price point, and the social factors. And so we're going to help people in that market to find the best community for them. There's a lot of seniors that need this service. So that's the thought behind it. We also have team members in Southern California, because California, you might have a family member that lives over there and here in Northern California. So there's a lot of back and forth. So we have quite the reach and support.
Wow.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier when we were talking the ability to look outside of the state,
Yes.
like you can say, well, Oregon might have a better situation for this.
And that happens, and it's happening more and more recently, that a family member might have a daughter in San Francisco, but San Francisco is pretty costly for senior living. Maybe a son lives in Oregon, and they ask us, well, are things more affordable in Oregon? Can you help me find a suitable place in there to help me compare? And absolutely, we want to provide all of the options for them so that they can make the best decision for themselves.
regardless.
So one of the options I'm curious about is, do you ever come across where you tell the family, I think it's best if they stay within the family and don't look for senior living? I mean, is there situations where you go, you're okay, you can stay?
I don't know of many situations where I would present that as an option. Moving into a senior living community is not always the solution.
Yeah.
But by the time people find us, there's usually a need that's driving that that call for them to call. And so it's really hard for families to be a caregiver when you have your own life. You might be working, you have your own health that you need to take care of, you might have children, you have all the things on your plate, and then trying to be a full-time caregiver as well, it's very hard, very hard. I've been in senior living for 22 years, and I would not be fit to be a caregiver for my parents. Not that I don't know what to do, I certainly do. I know how to lift, I know all these things to do. But that is a hard job for someone to do that for their loved one 24/7. And that would also change the dynamic between me and my parent. I would then be telling my mother what to do and to take her pills, and that would create some tension between us potentially, and it does in a lot of families. And so I know that people have a good heart, and they often, they say, well, I know my mom or dad want to stay home, and I get that because 80% of people do want to stay home, and I get that, I respect that, but sometimes it gets to a point when you can't, and the family members sometimes have to make a really hard decision, and sometimes they feel a sense of guilt, but we're here to educate. Well, this is what it looks like to stay at home. If you stay at home, this is the support that you will need. This is how much it's going to cost. These are additional things that you will need to do to make sure there's no gaps in your mom or dad's care. If you want to stay home, fine. We want to make sure it's safe and that you're set up to do that and you have all the resources. But we're also going to give the information of what a senior living community looks like and how that compares, because we can't make decisions for anybody, but we want to use our knowledge to give them the information so that they can make their best decision.
Yeah, show them all the options and let them pick it.
So if I had a senior parent, I would come to you and I would explain what it is, and you would have the ability to say, well, this is what you can do, and this is what you're facing if you don't.
Yeah.
That's invaluable.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
There was a situation, we can discuss this or not, about your own personal experience with senior living with your grandmother.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I have helped 4 of my family members move into a senior living community. In fact, my grandmother is currently living in the first senior living community that I started at when I was 15, when I was a waitress in the dining room, and she lives there today. And a lot of the same team members that were there when I was 15 are still there, and so it very much feels like home. So I really like that. But having that firsthand experience is really, really helpful for what we do, because not only do I have the professional experience, but I have that personal experience, and it's still really hard to be able to have those conversations with a loved one. Even when I helped my grandparents move into a senior living community, I have helped at that point thousands of people move into senior living communities, and I've had that conversation so many times, but having that conversation with your loved one is entirely different, especially having it with your grandmother. It's very hard. And I remember all of my family members, they wanted me to have this conversation. My grandfather had passed away, and my grandmother was left in their home in Oakdale, and we realized that my grandfather did a lot of compensation for my grandmother, and once he passed away, we realized that he really took care of everything, and my grandmother struggled with preparing meals. There was things that were old in her refrigerator and that she was reheating, cleaning, taking her medication. She started missing a lot of her medications. We saw that she couldn't, she was having trouble remembering dates, or sometimes communication. Poor safety awareness is one of the things that we see often, is you are not as aware of your safety, and there were some safety concerns as well. And so I know that my family member had asked me to have that conversation, and because I was the most prepared to do so, but it was still very hard to tell my grandmother that. And I remember she looked at me, she says, okay, and just kind of dismissive, like, I love you, but it was interesting. But we continued, and we got support in the home first for my grandmother, but that wasn't enough. That didn't meet the need to support my grandmother, and we saw that right away, and she wanted to stay in her home. Most people do. And so what we did is we did a trial period, which is a really, really great option. It's called a respite stay. So you can go and try out a community for maybe 2 weeks. Most communities will want to do a month, and that way they'll have a fully furnished room for you. You can go and partake of the services, the activities, everything, and see if you like it. If you don't, you can go back home, but if you do, then you can stay there. And that was what we did with my grandmother, and so that really helped with her transition into assisted living.
Wow.
So let me hit on that a little bit. So these places, how many of these senior homes allow that type of service to let you come and stay for a little while and try it out?
Well, a percentage-wise, maybe 60 to 70-ish.
Wow, that's a lot.
It depends, and it's going to change depend on their occupancy level. If a community is full, they have no vacancies,
Right.
they're not going to do that. So it fluctuates, and so sometimes a lot of communities do participate because people want the option of trying something before you make a
course.
commitment. And so I think it's a benefit when communities offer that, and I really like it, especially for my clients that are a little bit on the fence about moving into a senior living community. We try it out first, see what you like.
Yeah.
If you like it, we can move forward. You have the option of going back home or maybe doing another respite stay somewhere else. That way you see what you like.
Right. So a senior couple, not speaking of anybody in particular, when do they get a hold of you, and when is it time to start going, oh, we better cover our bases here?
Well, I think that the earlier the better.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say I think as we've been saying, there's so much out there. You know, you drive by somewhere, someone tells you about somewhere that their friend lived, their colleague lived, etc. So you naturally want to gravitate towards that, but you don't really know what else is out there. And you may get a skewed version of what there is. You know, maybe that wasn't the right place for you. Maybe it was, different kind of setting than you envisioned. So I think that piece of the education, the visual aspect is really important, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what assisted living can do. And then it's also the stage of your life. Are you going, there's so many communities now, and there's different levels of this, but you can go in in your 70s, in your 60s, and have a continuing care type community. You're going in to really be there for your life, then somewhere that'll take care of you through your life, and you're there to have these really grand, experiences and social aspects, and really, connect with your community. And then there's different checkpoints along the way. Is your house too challenging? Do you have some memory impairment that you do want to have some oversight with? Those are, there's no age. I've had clients in their, late 90s, and I've had clients in their 70s. So the range, there's not really the age. I think it's thinking about, what is that first step, and what am I comfortable with, or what do I not know about? How can I find the education?
So can they contact you, or do you go, oh no, it's too soon, don't bother me now, I'm busy?
We can work with people, it could be 3 days, which is really fast, but we can work with people for years, and bring in, like Anita said, bring in the right resources, make sure they're safe while they're doing this, kind of touring different places, going in, doing a respite stay, having lunch, meeting other residents. That's a process that can take weeks, months, it could be years.
So go ahead.
I was going to say the sooner the better, and everything that Johnell said, but often we hear that I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet. And that's an interesting comment. And sometimes we ask people, what does ready look like for you? And that's really hard for many people to articulate, but often people are not ready until there's an emergency situation. And then at that point, we're having to help a lot of people find a community because they've gone to the hospital and maybe they've broke their hip, and then they went to rehab, but they can't go home. So now we're finding a community for them to live in 3 days, because
because they're going to be discharged.
And that is something that we do often, and we absolutely can support in that way, but it becomes very difficult for families to make those really tough decisions that abruptly. And so I definitely advise, when you start seeing those signs of some forgetfulness, maybe they're making extra notes to try to compensate, to remember things, forgetting their medication, a fall, if they've had a fall, indication that they'll fall again is they're probably going to within the next 6 months or so. If they are maybe not eating that much and they're losing weight, all of those are signs that you should start talking to a professional.
So to help you, the people on the other side, they should get all their medical information accessible and ready to hand over, and their finances. I mean, you have to know those things, right? The place or not?
Somewhat. And we can just go with the range. It's a very casual conversation. We don't ask anyone to do any pre-planning. I think if we did, people would call us even later because they wouldn't feel prepared to call us. We want people to call us sooner, and we're going to have a casual conversation, and people don't have to turn over all of their finances to us. We're not professionals in that way at all, but we know enough about what things cost and how to extend those things to be able to pay for your care. And so we're going to have a casual conversation. People can have ballparks, and a lot of families do have ballparks parks. A lot of adult children don't know their mom or dad's financial situation, and that's okay because we can help you figure that out too.
Wow. So your particular organization is just centered on the Bay Area, pretty much? I mean, that's your focus?
I'd say California. We serve majority of California at this point. Yeah, we have 8 people locally in the Bay Area, and then we have a couple people in Southern California, and so we're able to support anywhere in California.
Wow.
We do like to keep it local because when we are local, we can really provide the concierge service that really sets us apart. And when we recommend communities for our clients, we meet them there to introduce them to the team there, and we go around and we look at the community with them. And we typically maybe tour 3 communities with them, and then we have a talk afterward. What did you like about the community? Maybe what didn't you like? Do you see your loved one being here? Are these good options? Do we need to pivot? We help them with getting the paperwork from their physician, setting up movers, because most of our clients can't move themselves, and their adult children are not able to either. So we want to take as much off their plate, ordering maybe medical equipment for them, all of these different resources, putting this together. So we really provide a local concierge service in addition to finding a place. And so locally, we're able to help people a lot more.
You're making them feel comfortable, because the change is hard. And also, I can say for myself, when you get older, you get kind of stuck. You get stuck in your ways. I mean, you're not going to change, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an important part. We don't want you to change.
Yeah.
We want to find a community that fits you and that will accommodate you. And that's important. And that's something that we're looking for.
How often, or what's it like working with the establishments where you're going to place these people? Do you have good communication with them?
Fantastic. We love it.
Yeah.
These people have become friends and families and colleagues.
Wow.
Senior living is very close and tight-knit, and it really attracts people with a really good heart that stay in senior living forever. So the colleagues that we work with on a daily basis have been there 15, 20 years.
Wow.
We have long-standing relationships with them, and because of that, we're able to really expedite things for our clients. We have their personal cell phones, and they're able to do things for us and our clients that maybe wouldn't be able to be done with someone maybe walking in.
That's invaluable.
And so we have a lot of flexibility because we have these personal relationships with people, but beautiful people in the senior living industry.
Yeah, and it's so lovely because we do want to make sure we go there, we tour, we meet the staff, we meet the team, we eat the food. We want to understand that, and we want to invite our clients or future residents with us to do that as well. And to Anita's point, it's so wonderful to build this network of professionals that truly, hey, I'm full, please call, colleague X. And so it's really nice to have that
That's great.
trust, that camaraderie, that true goal and passion of helping someone find the right, space for themselves.
Giving will make you feel so good, and it's
I hope you don't get too big that you lose that.
No, absolutely
That's
not.
invaluable.
No, yeah, we'll always keep that. That's important, and that's why I started this, is to be able to provide that really high level of concierge service and support, and to really hold people's hand through this whole process and take as much off their plate. And that will always be, what's important to us and how we help people.
I have kind of a funny question. Because of this, I started talking to my friends and, my relatives and things like that. And I have a girlfriend who's been in an apartment for a long, long time in LA. And they kind of want her out because they can make more money, of course. She's been there a long time. But she wants to put in those stairs, right?
The lift.
The lift,
Yeah.
the lift, yeah. Can she? It's rented. It's a rented place.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It probably would depend on the place. I don't see why not, because they should be able to accommodate the ADA requirements. But it would probably be something that she'd have to have a conversation with them regarding.
With the landlord.
Now we're coming up on the last 5 minutes. So let me ask you, is there anything that I haven't asked or Marilee hasn't asked that you want to
Did you want to say?
clarify or put out there? I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh, I know. I know. Of course I know. We were talking about the Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, yeah.
Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
We go there a lot in Santa Rosa or wherever it is.
Yeah.
And that is an organization that should stay, very honest, in a world of computers and everything. And people should contribute, so that they can build, these things that the seniors need in their homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot
Well,
of
and
that
I think
work.
we've talked a little bit about what it comes back to the time, right? Because I think what we're talking about is, do they have upgraded windows? Is there insulation in the home? Is it just, is it safe for them to be there from a physical aspect in terms of safety? I think the question still comes back to when is the right time and what is the right setting. I have a background in in-home care, so I've worked as a care provider. I've worked in-home in managing care teams. I've also been a senior living consultant, so I'm very well versed in having the conversation of how do we make this decision. And I think one of the biggest things that comes down to it is in-home care is wonderful while you're exploring these options. It may be wonderful for your whole life, but there's so many variables in care needs and social isolation and things that you can't expect and that will eventually probably need to be discussed and sorted out in the long run. So what the Habitat for Humanity is doing is so wonderful in making it safe for now. And then the next step is this trajectory manageable and doable for the foreseeable lifetime of this person?
Right.
Maybe, and that's wonderful, but maybe not. And I think that's where, professionals like us come in to at least give them those options to be educated and understand what's out there.
Well,
Wow.
we're coming down to the end of this, and I got to say it's been very educational. I mean, you guys are offering an invaluable service.
Thank you.
That I may need soon.
Well, you'd be happy to help anybody.
well, thank you.
Well, I'd also like to say that we are really big on education, and we're really thankful to even have this opportunity to be able to talk about this. And I think there's a lot more that can be talked about as well.
Sure, yeah.
So I would encourage people to also go to our website, neighborlyseniorplacement.com. We do a lot of education, so we'll have videos linked on there so that people can listen to other seminars that we've done or educational pieces. We do a lot of presentations like we were talking about at churches, and we're really trying to get as much information out there to help people pre-plan as well.
Well, we look forward to seeing you someday.
Yes.
I guess we're looking forward to it. In a way, we're looking forward to it. But I feel like I'm going to be in great hands.
Thank you.
And I thank you, both of you, Anita
thank you.
and Johnell, for giving us your insight into all this, because
giving.
I knew very little, if nothing, about this. It's one of those things, like you say, you wait to the last minute and then you go, whoops.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks.
Happy
Appreciate
to
it.
help you.
Yeah.
For all the folks out there, thanks for tuning in on Marin TV. I hope this has been a great educational source for you. It has been for me. I want to thank my guests. Please tune in next time. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
here.
go to the website and
Yes.
learn when you need something.
It is neighborlyseniorplacement.com.
That's it.
That's it, neighborlyseniorplacement.com, because keep your fingers crossed, we're all getting there.